Did you just roast me with your own empty wallet?
Hundreds and dollars of bills. I make money, man. I make money. I'm better than sink or swim. It's sink or swim. No, I'm swimming all the time. I ain't sinking. I ain't swimming. I'm beating Ace. Let's go.
What is up, football fans, but most importantly, UFL fans? What's up, brother? Very excited. Tomorrow is the NFL draft. And then the next day, this show's going to drop. So speaking to you from the past, we don't know who's getting drafted yet, but we're excited to see. But we know that Sketch, what's up, brother, is going to announce the Houston Texans pick. So that's very exciting. But we have a great show today. It's going into UFL Week 5. As always, it's Ace, it's Webb, it's KB in the back. We're very excited. But until we can't talk about all that stuff until we roll the music. All right. It is episode 12 of Polar Opposites. We are so excited to talk to you guys. I'm especially excited to talk because my team got a win. Webb, this team, the Roughnecks, we got a win. And you guys almost beat the Stallions. I was rooting for you. I got to tell you. I was rooting for you.
Oh, well, we went through the rainstorm, had one bad play, and it ended up being the difference in the game.
Yeah.
But we proved to the world that we're a top 4 team, I believe. So
I agree.
We'll see.
A lot of people were upset about the rain, but I was very excited about it because I was alone in a hotel in Dallas and I got to watch both games basically because they ended up postponing it. So then I got to finish the first game. Then the second game came on TV, so I didn't have to dual screen it with my computer. So I liked it. I thought it worked well. And then both games, I got that game right because I said that the Stallions were going to win. I didn't think you had a chance. I believe KB told you to stay off the pipe, right?
Yeah.
She told you to stay off the pipe. You were a field goal away from being on that.
Going 4-0 for 2 weeks in a row. For 2 weeks in a row, man. Come on.
Almost 2 weeks in a row going 4-0.
You want to talk about game picks before we get into game picks? This is what your wall looks like following you. Receipts, and there's nothing. There's nothing in there, right? Because your best week, you're celebrating 3-1. I do that on the regular because I've gone 3-1 or better since week 1.
Did you just roast me with your own empty wallet?
Hundreds and dollars of bills. I make money, man. I make money. I'm better than sink or swim. It's sink or swim. No, I'm swimming all the time. I ain't sinking. I ain't swimming. I'm beating Ace. Let's go.
That was the bit, huh? Okay. We got the beginning of the episode immediately. We're not going to top that.
There we go. It doesn't make a difference. I'm using it. I'm ready to go. You know why? Because everyone told me I was wrong and I had no chance.
Told you were smoking crack.
My good buddy Alex told me I was crazy. He didn't say I was smoking something like he did, but yes. He did say what are you watching? I think it's a team that has a winning mentality and winning culture. And I think even though they didn't pull it out, I think they can play with anyone. So
they absolutely proved it this week that they are better than people were giving them credit for. They had a bad opening couple games, but people were just starting to hit their stride. They were, still getting into it. It's a new league. It's merged. There's new players on teams. And you guys came out and in the rain, you showed that maybe they shouldn't be using a 2 QB system over in Birmingham and all that. But I digress. Let's get into the fan question. How about it?
If you follow
Stop throwing money at me. Stop throwing money at me. Stop it.
I'm just saying, if you follow me in my picks, I make a ring. I'll give you a gold star, though, or a silver star.
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
Why is Brandon doing the betting show? And apparently, it should be our boy Webb over here.
I've been making money all the time, and he just ignores me because his parlays are parlays. They're parlays.
They're lame.
Let's go. Fan question.
None of this is scripted. Okay. So, what was I talking? The fan question of the week. The fan question of the week is we are going to talk about gun to our head. If somebody broke into our houses right now, Webb, and they put a gun up to your head and they said, we're going to stand here until the end of the UFL season and wait to see how many players actually get NFL contracts. You need to put one name on this piece of paper right now. That is the person that you are most confident will get an NFL contract, or else we're going to kill you. A little dark, but it's just, I want to make sure you understand the severity of this question. Who are you most confident will make an NFL contract? This is a fan question because you as the fans are going to comment and let us know who you are most confident is going to get an NFL contract after this UFL season. Now, our picks, I picked the most obvious choice, which I'm willing to do this with a gun to my head, cue like CGI water gun. But I said Jake Bates because Jake Bates is yet to miss a field goal. He's hit 2 over 60. He's hit 4 over 50. The dude is absolutely killing it. There's so many NFL teams that have kicker woes that their fans are actually commenting on the Panthers post saying like, we need Jake Bates in insert NFL team here. So I think Jake Bates is 100% getting at least a camp invite. That's my pick. You picked Deon Cain.
Deon Cain. I think he's got an NFL body. I think he was in camp last year. I think he's stood out tremendously. I think he's wide receiver 1 in the league right now. Week in, week out, he performs. I know other like Pearson had 10 catches for 70 yards this past week. I know Kirkland's had it. But if you want to talk NFL wide receiver, you're talking Deon Cain. You're talking someone like that, not someone like a scat receiver.
Yeah,
that's what I call it on the DC Defender show, like a guy that catches a swing pass and can take it 20 yards. This guy's a horse, and that's no pun intended with what's on his helmet. He actually is. He was recruited to Clemson. I talk about it all the time, but like that means that he's always had the NFL body and the NFL skill set because he goes to a big program like that, and he has stood out. And I think actually working with quarterbacks like Martinez and Corral actually helps his case that he could play there because they're not as good as Alex Magoo. Yeah. Like those quarterbacks are not at that level. So he's still producing. And in fact, I would like to say he's producing better in the receiving game than he did last year. Last year was more kick return. Mm-hmm. Of course, in the championship, he had a bunch of touchdowns. But
that was crazy.
He was hot or cold last year. This year, it seems like he's proven to be consistent. And I think Jake Bates is a great pick. I just want to clearly say this. You went first on this pick, and I agree with you. Bates deserves to be in camp, but I also think Deon Cain should be in a camp.
Yeah, and Jake Bates just has that face where you're like, I can be friends with this guy. Like if he came up to you in the bar and he was like, hey, like, do you mind if I buy you a drink? I don't have any friends here.
Avril Lavigne together.
Like totally listen
like
to Avril Lavigne.
Yeah, you and him probably jamming out to Avril Lavigne.
Hey, you, I don't like your boy.
I don't want to be your boyfriend.
Yes.
Yeah, listen to Taylor Swift's new album. Come on, man.
Trust me, I have been.
You want a dog? Go with Deon Cain. Deon Cain is a dog.
So I agree. I do like Deon Cain as a pick because he has gotten into an NFL camp after basically each season. Was he in the USFL season 1?
No, he was not.
He was not. Okay. So after last season, because I believe the season before he wasn't in the USFL because he was on a futures contract with the Eagles. So he's an Eagles preseason legend. You know, sometimes he shows spurts of being a fantastic receiver. He has bad drops. He has really bad drops. That's the only knock I have against the guy. But game 1, I was there when Matt Corral threw that dot to the corner of the end zone and he caught it and jumped up into the padding. That was an NFL level route throw and catch. It was legitimate. And so I really do like Deon Cain. I like what you say. He has the size. He has, the intangibles that the NFL scouts are looking for. So I do think that he'll be back in an NFL camp.
He's won everywhere he's been. He's been part of a winning culture in college and in pros.
Yeah, he was back with Deshaun Watson, right?
Yeah. Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson, yes.
And then going to the Eagles, the Eagles have been fantastic the last couple of years, and he's been part of that. And then, of course, the Stallions are the gold standard, except in terms of fans, because their fan support is absolutely terrible in the stadium. So I'm not going to go into that rant. I've ranted on other shows, but for a team that prides itself in being a football state, it's absolutely garbage and embarrassing for the USFL side that their number one franchise shows an output like this. Their best fan lives in Arlington. That's Luke Miller. The rest of the fans in Alabama, they don't show out or they just disappear. They're ghosts. They're Caspers.
Okay.
We didn't plan that. Everything's unscripted.
That was a lot.
I am getting frustrated with the Birmingham fans come up with every excuse. It rained. It's A-Day. It did this. It did that. it's paid attendance, right?
Yeah.
So even if you don't show up, it's who bought the tickets. That means you're not buying the tickets Monday through Friday, and you're not showing up. You're just a garbage fan base that complains about everything. Let's be honest.
I agree. We had as many, if not more, fans at the Houston Roughnecks last home game this last weekend against the Arlington Renegades, and we were.
And you're 0-4,
and we were 0-3. We're 1-3 now.
But
we were bad.
You were number 8. You were clearly number 8.
We were the consensus number 8, and our fans still showed out. You know, we have a fantastic MC. We have great fans, the Rig Rocker, the Predators,
but we
all that
didn't get
stuff.
a home game until week 3. But we didn't get. Come on, man.
No, it's all trash.
It's got to go somewhere.
It's upsetting. Again, this is unscripted. I was not prepared for this absolute tangent and rant by Webb, but.
I apologize.
So my last point that I wanted to make about the fan question was I also like the fact that we both picked special teams players. So Deion Kane, yes, he's having his most productive year in spring football as a wide receiver because his quarterbacks are targeting him more. But where he really made his name was in kick returning. And Jake Bates, field goals. Special teams is really the niche where the spring football players can get back into the NFL. You look at who got into the NFL and stayed there. Maurice Alexander, Brandon Aubrey, and Kavontae Turpin. These are all special teams guys. Maurice Alexander, Kavontae Turpin are both return specialists. Brandon Aubrey, automatic leg. Like the dude is automatic when he's going to kick it. So those are the things. That's how you can get to the NFL. These guys who are in this league, they're not like, I'm going to be the next Donovan McNabb. I'm not going to be the next starter, right? What they can do is go earn a contract, make a bunch of money for their family, and go play on special teams in the NFL. So if you're really standing out in that area, that gives you the leg up. So I like the fact that we both picked special teams players. Now, let's talk about who has a leg up. We're going to talk about
special players.
Special teams, special players. Tuesday. On Tuesday, I posted a poll and I won. Champion. So there was only one poll this last week because to go over the best storyline for each team was going to be really, really hard to create a poll out of that. So we just did the one poll and I posted it on YouTube and Twitter and I won both areas hands down. 46 of the 77 votes were for me. You guys thought that I was the better in game picks. Fun fact, me and Webb went the same, but one of those was kind of a surprise. A lot of people had Michigan over San Antonio and then Michigan just fully imploded. Yes, but that's why they picked me.
That's the reason why I make it rain, because I know ball, man. I was a field goal away from going 4-0 for a second consecutive week. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but it took a thunderstorm.
The people always side with your pretty face. You're prettier than me. I'll give it to you. You're in shape. You're younger. You're agile.
I'm shorter.
Right? You're out there in the Twitter community a lot more than I am. But if you want the ball, just come after your boy Webb. All right.
Whatever. So, whatever. I won the polls. That was very exciting. I love when I win the polls. Real quick, let's talk about the power rankings. The main reason I wanted to bring this up is we're not last. The Houston Roughnecks have moved up from 8 to 6. And if that's as high as we go this season, I don't care. We moved up 2 spots, man. It's a blast. I'm having a good time now. You know, it was getting rough. I said it on my show. Losing is a cancer and it really just spreads its way throughout the locker room, throughout the fan base. And so we won a game and I'm very excited and I just wanted to enjoy it. But St. Louis, Birmingham, man, they really are pulling away from the crowd. The San Antonio Brahmas, the fact that they're able to stay up at 3 with Chase Garbers being out for the season, that's pretty impressive. But man, who said that Quentin Dormady was going to be good on his team? Was it? Oh, it was me. I'm the one who said that Quentin Dormady was going to be good. He came out and immediately looked more electric than Garbers, but whatever. You know, he did get rocked by Levante Taylor, but that's whatever. And then the DC Defenders come out and show that, you know,
moved up on a loss.
Yeah, it wasn't all, moved up on a loss because they showed that they had grit and that they could hang with the consensus number 1 team. So it was a good week. I really enjoyed the games this weekend. I thought they were all pretty good, except the Memphis Showboats, man. They are deteriorating so fast. The fact that they're not 8.
Dumpster fire real quick.
Let's do it.
Fire.
Let's do it.
Like,
how are they not number 8?
4. I know they're 0-4.
Dude.
I know they're 0-4. I get that their record, you are who your record are, right?
You are what your record says, Bill Parcells.
Whatever it is, whatever Bill Parcells said. The Showboats are terrible, man.
They're so bad.
Like the Renegades are competitive, showboats. Like, I feel bad for Brandon that he has to do a show every week talking about that football.
He
team.
didn't do one this week.
Yeah, like
I wouldn't either, dude. If we had lost against Arlington, I wasn't going to do a show. Fuck. Shoot. I wasn't going to do it.
I'm just saying. I put Memphis 8. There was actually, like, Arlington. Last week, you guys were the clear number 8 when it comes to these 100%. Polls.
I had us at 8.
It actually was pretty close that Memphis and Arlington, even though Memphis has a win and beat those Roughnecks. Outside of that, like, I think this is a home run. I think Houston is the 6th best team right now.
I love these standings. I think they are exactly where they need to be right now.
And you guys got Mark Thompson coming back, and I'm kind of, if I was Michigan, I would be scared.
You know what's a wild thing? So I looked into it. Every single game so we've won with Mark Thompson. We've lost with Mark Thompson. We have never won without Mark Thompson. Isn't that crazy? Every game that Mark has missed, we've lost. Wild. Wow. Wild statistics.
That's crazy because he has missed games in every season. So the
every
fact
season,
that
and we lose them all.
That's crazy because when Tom Brady missed the whole season, right, with Matt Castle, they still went 11-5. Yeah, they still went 11-5. No, they didn't make the playoffs, but they went 11-5.
Yeah.
Mark Thompson leaves the gambler next, and you can't win.
We literally can't win.
It's just crazy.
He came in, he ran the ball 9 times, but what he really did was 9 times, only 9 times. But what he really did, and it was amazing. The difference that I could see, the stark difference between when we would run a play action with TJ Pledger the past 3 weeks to when Mark was in, night and day. I mean, you run a play action, their safeties are breaking down, dude. Like they are like, we are not going to let Mark run on us. And then they kept doing that. It was creating one-on-ones, and Reed Sinnett, dude's only thrown 1 interception, and it was off of a deflection off of his own player's chest. So he's killing it. I said it on my show, best Roughnecks quarterback, best Houston Gamblers quarterback that I've seen yet. We're not talking about Jim Kelly, but in the modern era, because, I love Jim. But I digress. KB, what is our first official topic of the day?
Okay, our first topic is, let's talk about our game picks for next week.
All right, Webb, you ready to talk about it? We tied this week. You went 4-0 2 weeks ago. You went 3-1 last week. I'm feeling you're on a downhill. You're on a regression. I'm messing up the words, but that's okay. Here are our picks.
3-1 or better 3 out of 4 weeks. Whatever.
That's fair. You honestly, just send me the money lines every week. I'll send it with my bookie. So our records right now are 9-7 and 12-4. You are still beating me, but I'm catching up. But this week we have 3 games that are different. I don't think we've done this season yet, where we have 3 full games. We're only agreeing on 1, and it's because it's the Panthers beating the dumpster fire, the absolute Titanic that is the Memphis Showboats. So wow, that's pretty wild. I love these graphics. I really do like when we have them, the games different, because it just shows a lot of the different teams. And I just like this graphic a lot. Proud of what I did. But Webb, are you ready to talk about the games?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So I'm going to let you start. Game 1, you have the Renegades beating the Brahmas.
Yep.
Why?
Lindsey Scott. Luis Perez showed up in the injury report this week, and I have a feeling that Lindsey Scott's going to be a heavy dose, and I don't think San Antonio's been ready for it. I don't think Dormady was great. He was effective, but he was not great. But who'd they beat? They beat a team that's, I would consider behind them in Michigan, right? Michigan this past week, yeah.
Yes.
So I think Arlington is not that bad. I think Arlington is better than Memphis. I think Arlington is closer to you guys, being that 6th team, maybe even closer to Michigan. I think Arlington's very competitive. They have to figure out some things on defense, but I think they can surprise, and especially if they come with Lindsey Scott, their season's on the line. Because if you let, and I know we said this last week with their season on the line with Houston, but if they lose a game directly to the Brahmas, now every team, well, outside of the DC Defenders, will be at that 4-win mark, basically, right? It's either like everyone's going to be at 3 wins because St. Louis and DC play each other, so everyone's at 3 wins. With 5 weeks to go. You basically have to go 5-0 and have some help.
Yeah,
so you basically eliminate if you lose this game because San Antonio will be at the 4-win mark, correct?
Yeah.
And then either St. Louis is at the 4-win mark or DC's at the 3-win mark, and you have 0. You have to win this game. And I think they pull it out. I think it'll be a close one. And I think San Antonio's on a down spiral. I know Josh is going to listen to us and like, oh, we're the greatest and we have the most tackles in PFF. PFF gives us a higher score. We're the 3rd best team. But also in that same graphic, they put Arlington as the 4th best. So you're not that far ahead of Arlington. I think Arlington pulls it out.
Yeah, I think the Brahmas still win it because I think Arlington is reeling right now. I think they're spiraling. It's wild to watch them come out week 1. I thought they looked decent against the Stallions. I thought they looked better in the next 2 weeks. And then they came out against us and they looked awful. They looked actually really bad. And Luis Perez, he was pissed off. He was throwing bad balls. He threw a terrible interception, a misread of an option route. It was all really bad. And I do like if Lindsey Scott plays, I like that. But I think the Brahmas defense is very good. And I don't know. I just think Dormady, he really does throw a good ball. I think his offensive line started failing him in the second half of that last game. I just like the Brahmas. I think the Renegades are spiraling down into oblivion. Like you're talking about, last week, a lot of people, even myself, we consider that the playoff game. If you miss that, you miss the playoffs. They're in the bottom of the well, but they can still see light at the top, right?
Yeah.
If they lose this game, it's caved in. There's no light. There's no nothing. At this point, you are playing to try and get an NFL spot. It's hard to get players to really buy in at that point. This is the make or break. Is our season going to implode? Are we going to possibly ruin the headquarters of the XFL and they're going to have to move to a different city next year? I don't know, man. But I just don't like it. I think that's a tough game. The Renegades, the fact that they're showing a decrease or aggression is bad for me. And I think that the Brahmas are still showing fight. They lost their QB1 and they're still coming out and they're battling. I don't know. I just give it to them. But
I get what you're saying. I just feel that with your Houston game last week, like you guys were a dumpster fire. Like it was pretty bad in Houston. You were talking about meetings on your show, all that kind of stuff.
It was tough.
Maybe this is their coming to Jesus moment for Arlington Renegades. And this is their week that everything's got to be on the line. And it's a make or break week.
Yes. All right. So the next game that we have, this is my game. I'll talk first. So I picked the Houston Roughnecks. Why? Because I'm a homer through and through. But because the last 2 seasons, when I said that I thought that we were going to beat the Birmingham Stallions, I didn't really believe it. But we are 2-2 against the Stallions. We are the only team. For some reason, I brought it up today in the media call to Curtis Johnson and actually made him laugh in the middle of my question because I said, Houston, for some reason, is Birmingham's kryptonite. And he laughed because it's like, I don't understand. Sometimes we're like by far the lesser team. We just can get their goat. And I don't know why. And I believe with Mark Thompson coming back, with our defense having their best game of the season, I just feel like it's kind of a perfect storm for this to be the trap game for the Birmingham Stallions and for them to just kind of fall down and lose to us. Now, does that mean they're not going to pick back up the next week and steamroll the rest of the season to the championship? No, it doesn't mean that. That's what they did last year. But I think if we're going to beat them, it's going to be right now. And it's going to be when they're in the middle of fumbling up this 2 QB system kind of weird thing. What do you think, Webb?
So you talked about how Arlington it's kind of a rough spot and they looked really bad. And I think that saved your season. And I think you're putting lipstick on a pig right now. It's still a pig underneath there. I don't see them competing with Birmingham. I think Birmingham's angry because they weren't impressive last week, and their fans are calling out. And I know our show on the network or on the UFM was basically saying, it's all right. We kind of fell asleep at the wheel. There's no problems. I think Skip saw some problems, and I think they're going to come out firing. I think the worst time to catch Birmingham is when they struggle the week before. And I think Skip's going to coach them up and be like, hey, guess what? This ain't going to be a cakewalk. You barely won this game against, and this team's beaten you twice in the last 2 years. There's a lot of returning veterans. I think it kind of works against you how DC did well. And I think it kind of works against you that you won last week because there's still a pig underneath there. They're like, you can put all that lipstick and that winning mentality, but like there are still some inefficiencies on that team. And I think you guys are the 6th best team in the league right now. I think Mark Thompson coming. I think you guys are going to be the team that no one wants to face in the second half of the season. But right now, I think Birmingham takes it and beats it. Sorry, man. I know. Aren't you going to be at this game?
I am going to be at this game, and my wife is going to be at this game. I'm very excited. I haven't been to a game with her since the championship in 2022. So I'm very excited to go to a game with my wife and hang out. And, she's going to see me interacting with the players and stuff. And it's a fun time. I don't know. Yeah, I agree. It's not a great time to catch the Stallions right after they almost lose, but they're stumbling, and they're either going to stumble and they're going to find their footing, or we're going to knock them down. It could go either way. This is a weird game. This is a game where a lot of bettors want to say, hey, put all your money on the Stallions. But people who know the history of the league are going to say, I don't know, man, maybe we just don't bet on this game, right? Yeah. Like maybe we just leave this one alone. Let's bet against the Showboats. So I don't know. But because I'm a homer, because it has that ambiance that, we are the only team that's 2-2. We have a 500 record against the Stallions right now. That's insane. No, I'm just going to lean into that because, I'm having fun. But let's move on to the next game. Your turn. You have DC beating St. Louis, which would be a pretty good upset this week if it happens. Why?
2 words. Rowdy Audi.
DC doesn't lose in
DC. What?
I thought you were going to say Beer Snake.
No, well, Rowdy Audi. I think this DC team is fine. I think there's some inefficiencies, but they're home. And for some reason, even 2020, 2023, they don't lose at all in DC. They figure out a way. I think this team is going to get better as the season goes on. They've played 3 out of the first 4 games on the road. Mm-hmm. Like people like that's difficult, right? And now with the back half of the season, you've got 4 home games and you're undefeated at home. I think this team is fine. We made it through the tough part of the schedule. I say that the tough part of the schedule in terms of travel, I know everyone does, but everyone travels.
We almost beat you.
What's
we were
that?
1 drop pass away from beating you.
I get that, but these 3 weeks are actually pretty impressive when you got Birmingham, St. Louis, San Antonio right back, and then Michigan, and then I believe it's St. Louis again. So like these next 4 weeks are really going to define DC's season, and the majority of it is at home. And I love that because I think that crowd is different. It's different. The one thing that I would question is the defense. If Greg Williams is too aggressive, I think this St. Louis team can score some points. But if you watch this defenders the last couple weeks, he's kind of toned it back and worried about playing good defense. And hey, man, that offensive line didn't give 1 sack up to that defensive line for the Stallions. So there's a lot of positives that are happening in DC, and I think coming home, especially the back half of the season, and Rowdy Audi is rocking the Beer Snakes, the Lemonheads, DC, those long flights for everyone, right? Mm-hmm. Bellamy came on my show earlier on the year, and he goes to the same Ocean Steakhouse. That's what he called it, something like that. He goes there every single time. I think it's a good fit, and I think DC's on the trajectory up. Well, I know everyone else thinks St. Louis is the team. I think DC's right on their heels. So,
I mean, I can agree. I think that DC is definitely better than people are giving them credit for. But I do think that when you look at a complete team right now who's been producing, St. Louis looks good. Their 64-yard field goal from being undefeated. They just look legit. So when I look at this game, you guys are kind of getting it together where it feels like they already have it together. And so I have to hand it to them until you prove yourself. And I understand it's back in DC. You guys haven't lost a home game in I don't know how long. But ever. Sure, ever, whatever. But I just think...
No, it really is ever.
I know. But I just think that St. Louis looks that complete that I'm not willing to bet against them. So it's really just that I'm not willing to bet against them. Gun to my head. Guy breaks into my house right now. I don't know why I keep coming back to this. I've been watching a lot of true crime. Gun to my head. I would pick St. Louis. I just think that they have it more together right now. They got Pearson back. Hakeem Butler's starting to actually get going. They really weren't targeting him early on. I don't know. I didn't look specifically at their injury report. Is Peta going to be playing? Yes,
it's a long injury report. I saw it right before. I know the UFM Twitter account had all the injury reports, and they had a much longer injury report than the DC Defenders. So,
well, even if not. So last week they didn't have Peta, and Rose absolutely picked it up, and they looked good. On defense, they looked legitimate, even though they were missing a couple key pieces. They were missing 2 defensive linemen, I believe. They still look great. So I'm still going to lean towards them. I think that this is the game of the week. I think if you're looking at the schedule and you say, I'm only going to watch one UFL game this week, the rest of the time I have to spend time with my family or whatever, this is the game you should watch. You should watch the St. Louis Battlehawks against the DC Defenders. Do you agree, Webb?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm going to be watching regardless. I think the other game, our next game that we're talking about, is the game to watch because I like watching dumpster fires and I like watching crimes, really, I guess. So it's just big crimes.
So you love my analogy. This guy comes in, gun to your head. So we got the Michigan Panthers versus the Memphis Showboats in Memphis at Simmons Bank Stadium. So I picked Michigan Panthers because that's the obvious pick this week. Nope, you picked the Panthers too. We both picked the Panthers. So I'll talk about it first. I think the Panthers look good. Danny Etling doesn't look that different than EJ Perry. EJ Perry looks like his season may be over, but I feel like they're swapping 1A for 1B right now. I think their quarterbacks are fine. I think their defense looks really good. They gave up a couple deep passes and big plays to San Antonio early in the game, and that's pretty much why they lost, and their offense just couldn't get it going. But their defense figured it out quickly. So they gave up some points early, and then they held San Antonio the rest of the time. I think this week, who knows if Case Cookus even starts at this point? It's a liability. This dude's health insurance is about to kick him off. They're about to say, hey man, we're not gonna cover you anymore if you keep standing behind this offensive line willingly. So I think that Memphis is falling apart, and I think that Michigan looks like they're keeping the ship afloat. Both teams don't look fantastic right now, but I have to go with the Panthers, and you do too. Webb, why are you picking the Panthers?
Well, first of all, Memphis is hurt. I'm looking at the injury report. You got Papale Cookus, who has a shoulder and an elbow injury problem right now.
Stuff. The one hit
Monte
really
Diggs, Elder, Daywood Davis. All these guys are limited.
All of their starters, literally, like all their playmakers.
Yeah.
What? Where is my phone?
It's not every playmaker. They got Jay Adams, but their second tight end West.
Quiet this year, though.
Yeah, he has, and it's because the offensive line is given protection. And the offensive genius that's John D. Filippo has struggled the entire season, in my opinion. I don't know if it's execution. Only, I also think it's coaching, and he's not 100% calling plays. Vito's been banged up and not explosive. Papale, I know he's caught touchdowns, but come on, man. Like, when you only score 3 and he's got 2 of them.
Only scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's been a great fantasy pickup. I really need that guy to not be hurt this week.
But I think you're right about Michigan. Michigan's going to keep it afloat. I think Michigan's a more complete team. I even though
the coaching is better.
Picked up Bryce. Picked up Bryce Perkins, which I was a huge fan of in college at University of Virginia. I think he fits this league well. He was in the NFL for last couple of years. He is a tremendous talent, and I think he fits this team well. And I think if Elling can right the ship for a couple weeks, let him get the playbook under, you could see like an EJ Perry kind of thing that they had last year in the playoffs, and this guy gets hot, for a game or two and can carry them if they have to make the replacement. So as long as they're able to right the ship and beat the teams they're supposed to beat, right? Memphis is a lesser team right now. They have to beat Memphis. And I really think it's the race to 5 wins in the USFL. I said at the beginning of the season, I said Michigan's going to be 5-5, and it's a race to 5 wins. And whatever team can get to 5 wins, you're Houston. If you guys get to 5 wins, you're probably in the playoffs because look who you got to play in the future. And the same thing goes for Michigan. They have a little bit of head start on you guys in Memphis, but it's the race to 5 wins in the USFL.
I agree. The USFL is not showing out the way that we thought it would. Week 1, we had the 2-0 against the XFL, and it's not backing it up moving into the season. Injuries, coaching, whatever have you. It's not looking great. And I think that you're right. So Michigan is about to go through some changes. EJ Perry's out. They have some important injuries. They released Jordan Sewell, which was a surprise. But I think that the coaching and the culture there is what's going to keep them afloat, keep them going. And you said it. For some reason, John DeFilippo, everybody says he's the offensive mind. He's not doing it. It's not happening. It's looked bad all season. Even against the Houston Roughnecks, when they won week 1 and people had them in the top 4, they didn't look good. They barely beat us. And it was an awful game. We looked terrible. They looked terrible. And people had them in the top 4. They didn't look good that game. Their offense has looked awful all games except for the first half against the San Antonio Brahmas. Literally.
You know what this is? Choo choo. That's the hype train. The boats, man.
Because the boats got Case Cookus. They got Sage Surratt. They got Jay Adams. Vinny Papali signed back with them. Like, they had all the hype because they had all the players. It just did not come together. It was all these really cool looking puzzle pieces that came together to look like a crappy puzzle. It just didn't look good. It was like, none of these fit,
I can't even add to that. Like, I like to one-up you in the metaphors and the similes and try to go back and forth with you and just make fun of teams a little bit. It just didn't fit. But that one's spot on. And Memphis
it was like, this is really cool. This one's really cool. And you try to put them together, they don't fit. They don't make sense together. And so their team is falling apart. It has all the pieces that you think would make the perfect spring football team, and they're just bad. They're just not good. To give up, 9 sacks in a game, I mean, they look so bad, dude. But I digress. Let's move on to our next topic. KB, what is our next topic?
So after last week's wins and losses, let's talk about our mid-season championship guesses.
Okay, mid-season championship guesses. So before the season started, we talked about our championship guesses. Yours was 2 XFL teams because we were still unsure about the playoff. I don't know, the playoff system. It was very gray. And then I don't even think I knew for sure until week 2 that it was actually still going to be 2 USFL teams and 2 XFL teams. But luckily, I picked a USFL team and an XFL team. So let's talk about your picks first. So Webb, who is your pick now mid-season for the UFL? I almost said USFL. I miss those days. For the UFL championship. Who's your pick?
Well, I had DC and St. Louis in my original picks.
Yes.
But I did have Birmingham, Michigan in playoffs. So that is going to remain the same. I think San Antonio fades faster than a hairline. And it's as simple as that. With Dormady, which me and you have gone back with about Dormady. I am going to go with DC and Birmingham.
Okay.
Because last week, I think you saw 2 teams. It felt like a heavyweight fight, even though both teams are sorting some things out. It felt like they were slugging for each other. I think they were evenly matched for the most part. I don't care what you say about the rain. Birmingham's fans don't know because they didn't watch. But I just feel that these 2 teams, I think they're the class of the USFL. I think the other 3 teams in the USFL are not at that level to beat Birmingham. It is a 1-game scenario. Who knows? I guess you can make a case, but Birmingham is definitely the class. I think there's a 3-horse race in the XFL side, and I think DC comes out. Is it a homer pick? Probably a little bit. You're like, it's week 5, but at the same time, I think they have that. They went 9-1, made it to the championship last year. What's to say? I know they have 2 losses this year, but I think they can figure it out. And the next 4 weeks will tell a lot about DC. If I'm crazy, and KB could say I got to put down the pipe again. But like in the next 4 weeks, we're really going to figure out what team this is for DC. So catch me on week 7. I'll tell you if it's the same or not.
Yeah, the next 4 weeks is where the rubber meets the road for the DC Defenders. And I don't hate that pick, especially after watching that game. It was a good game. If that was the championship, I think it would go down as a pretty good spring football championship. Rain and all, having shirtless mobs of dudes in the end zone, catching the extra points and field goals. I think it's a good time. I like that game, but it's not my pick. So my pick, actually, at the beginning of the season, it was the Birmingham Stallions against the St. Louis Battlehawks. I did not have all 4 playoff teams. I didn't put it together the way that you did, but my chip, it's still the same. This is the same graphic that I had the last time that we showed it. I still think that it's St. Louis and it's Birmingham. I called it from the beginning of the season. Right now, they're the number 1 and number 2 teams, almost consensusly amongst all of our ballots. Like St. Louis even got 3 first place votes. I think these are the 2 most complete teams when you look at all 3 phases of the game and coaching. So you look at offense, special teams, defense, they are doing well on all sides of the ball. So Birmingham, they have Deion Kane, they have good returners. Then Darius Shepard over in St. Louis, former Stallion, actually. He's the reigning special teams player of the year. He's killing it on kickoff returns. Then the offense looks like it's absolutely getting going on St. Louis. In Birmingham, it stalled a little bit with Corral, but I think if they put Martinez back in, they're going to look just as good. And then the defenses they look good. St. Louis, like I said, no PETA, no other defensive lineman that I don't know his name, but they still were able to compete and look good defensively. So I'm taking Birmingham Stallions versus St. Louis Battlehawks, and that would be a fantastic UFL championship because then it's a St. Louis home game again, and we'll have 40,000 plus fans in the championship, and it'll be like an NFL game. So I think that'll be really exciting.
But Birmingham should host the championship because their fans show out.
It's
what?
That's the argument that we heard a month ago. So I'm just saying. I agree with you. I think St. Louis is a championship caliber team.
Mm-hmm.
I think that rivalry between St. Louis and DC is vastly underrated.
No, I love it. I'm very excited about that game this week.
The only reason that they had the numbers that they had is because everybody was playing there.
In Birmingham.
You talk about Birmingham fans,
right?
Birmingham fans came out and said that they should have the championship and they should have the first home game.
That's not true.
I just want them to show up to one game. That's all I want is for one game for Birmingham fans to show up and be like, see, we could fill the stadium too. St. Louis deserves the championship. If it's a home game for them, then it's a home game for them. Then show out and show the league that, hey, you know what? We should invest some time and money into you too.
Exactly.
That's just how I feel.
Soapbox, meet web. All right. So with that, let's get into KB's Blindside.
All right, gentlemen. Kind of tailing off of the mid-season championship guesses.
Okay.
I want you to talk about the halfway awards.
Oh, shoot. I was not prepared for that.
So
it's a Blindside.
I want you to award Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and MVP at this point in the season.
What about Coach of the Year?
Why are we adding to this?
Sure, take it.
I'm trying to wrap my brain right now.
Yeah.
Coach of the Year, I'm going to go with Anthony Beck. I mean,
Coach of the Year, I'm going for Skip Holtz.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Yeah, Skip Holtz is going on the longest spring football winning record that we've seen, or winning streak. But I think Anthony Beck, it's honestly just them two. It really is just them two. Remember when you said Bob Stoops before the season? How stupid do you feel?
It was either Holtz or... First of all, it was only Holtz or Stoops, right?
No, Anthony Beck was right there. He's a great coach. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's talk about Defensive Player of the Year because I think we have the same one.
My boy Barlow to the side. That's what I feel worse for, not Anthony Beck.
There, but Defensive Player of the Year, I think we have the same answer. Who's yours?
Chiava.
It's Chiava Tizzino. Yes, it is. He is quietly having the best defensive season. The dude is leading the league in tackles. He's a playmaker out there. Maybe now that Scooby Wright has retired, we'll see people start to respect and pay attention to Chiava Tizzino. The dude deserves Defensive Player of the Year. He deserved it last season in the USFL. He just needs it. Now, I see you checking your phone. What stats are you looking at, and which person are you picking?
Well, for Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going with Jacob Sailors from St. Louis.
Whoa.
The running back. because he had 6 yards per carry, and if he's able to continue that, yes, I know he didn't play in one game.
Mm-hmm.
If he's able to continue that pace, he's going to smash this. He's already the leading rusher in the league, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in a league that isn't really standing out in terms of running backs, and I know your boy Mark Thompson hasn't been there, Adrian Martinez is number 2 in the league for rushing. So the fact that Sailors is doing something that no one else in the league can do, I think he should be considered Offensive Player of the Year, because he's adding another facet of the game that no one else in the league can do right now.
Yeah.
So like he's standing out, and he should be recognized for that. Is it the MVP? No, but I think he should be considered for Offensive Player of the Year if he continues at this pace.
Okay, so Offensive Player of the Year, probably go with Deion Kane. He's leading the league in receiving yards. You know, he's looked very good. Like you said, he's likely to get an NFL contract. He's got the build. I think Deion Kane makes sense. You know, both the quarterbacks come in and both the quarterbacks feed the same man. It makes sense, right? So I like him. Now, MVP is where it gets a little murky, because you feel like it's almost Offensive Player of the Year again. Like it's MVP, and then Offensive Player of the Year is MVP2. So who do you have? Because maybe you're thinking the same-ish as me, and maybe I'm way off base. I don't know.
So we're talking MVP up to this point, not for a prediction for the whole season, right?
Sure. Yeah.
It's Jake Bates.
Yes,
it's Jake Bates. It's absolutely Jake Bates for Michigan.
Whoa.
I think there is no quarterback right now that stood out. I know you're going to say McCarron.
I was going to say McCarron. Dude, you know me so well.
But Birmingham, we've been arguing for a long time. I know we're going a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
Matt Corral and Adrian Martinez haven't stood out.
Adrian Martinez has absolutely stood out. He was the second guy I thought of.
No, but he hasn't played enough.
It was
right?
one game.
Like he's got to put it together. Jake Bates has kind of been the offense for a team that's got a winning record, or a 500 record right now, and considered an inside track. Will it be Jake Bates? Absolutely not. If Jake Bates is the MVP, like we talked a lot of Jake Bates, but I will tell you that right now, like you could make a case for him and be okay, because no one's really stood out on a consistent basis like Jake Bates. So.
It's not like last season where you had Mark Thompson coming in hot with the touchdown record. He was killing it. Every game he had 1 or 2 or 3 touchdowns. It's not like Alex Magoo, where every game he had ridiculous plays where he was winning the game in a superhuman fashion. We don't have those guys this season. It really does feel a lot more even. Would you agree that this season it seems like the talent really has spread out, and it's spread to an even level? And so nobody is head and shoulders above the other teams. The only person is, I feel like if Adrian Martinez would have been able to play more, he could have been the only person, because he's doing it with his legs and arm. So it's more impressive to get a lot more all-purpose yards when you're doing it with your legs a lot more than Matt Corral, who's trying to sit in the pocket, not run as much. And then when it's raining, it looked messy. And he fumbled, twice? So yeah. I mean, I could see Jake Bates, but I still want to say McCarron, because he's just had the most complete season when it comes to a running back, or not running back, when it comes to a quarterback. The only other quarterback who's, up there in the stats with him, in the QBR, the percentage, all that, is Reed Sinnett, but he doesn't even have a winning record, and he didn't even start the season. So I think you have to say McCarron, but I like Jake Bates. I think to see a kicker win MVP, that's happened in the NFL one time. And the last time was like in the 70s. I would love to see that. That would be so cool. Yeah. He's also going to be the only one with a lasting NFL contract and actually playing a season. How about that?
Yeah, I think it would be cool. Yeah. But if this league wants to be legitimate, it can't be Jake Bates, right? No, it cannot be Jake Bates for the league's sake. But
the
Jake
fact
Bates
that we want more
great story. What's that?
The fact that we want more seasons.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say Jake Bates right now, mid-season MVP, just because he's kind of carried his team. But will he end up with a reward? Probably not. I'm gonna end up with. I'll agree with you, McCarron.
I'm gonna say AJ McCarron, who actually did not win MVP last year. There was no MVP last year of the XFL, but I do think it's interesting that the XFL News Hub named him their MVP, and they put out, an article and stuff. And people started saying it so much to the fact that during the broadcasts and the games, the broadcasters and analysts are actually saying reigning MVP AJ McCarron because of XFL News Hub. So good for you guys. Half of y'all, most of y'all left News Hub at this point, but congratulations to you guys. That's pretty impressive. So yeah,
definitely.
All right, KB, did we answer your blindside question?
You did.
Perfect. Well, that only leaves one more thing. Webb, what do you say? What's up, brother? Hey guys, thank you so much for watching the UFM United Football Media. If you like that, please make sure to like and subscribe. Also, if you want more videos, you can check them out on our channel over here. The best one for you is right here. And then if you like mine, the rest of my playlist is right here. Thank you guys, and I hope to see you next time.